My name is Dominique Vidale-Plaza. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and I have worked at the Mukwege Foundation since 2019. And before that, I lived in Congo for 9, 10 years. Well, I was never sporty before. I didn't do any sports as a child. I tried many, but I sucked at all of them, and so I didn't keep it up. And I think, like many people, when I turned 30, you yeah, it's very cliched. You begin to think, oh, I should really do a sport. And that was right at a time where there was a lot happening in my life, a lot of things were changing, and running was a way that a few of the women friends that I had in Congo at that time, it helped us form a community. It was something we all got into around the same time. And it made my last few years of Congo very special to be running almost every day and to starting this new phase of my life at 30 that I ended up really, really enjoying. Right before this is how I got into running. For my 30th birthday, I decided that I would run a half marathon. Because why would you start with a 5K or a 10K? I guess you just start with a half marathon. And there were some women around me at that time who were much sportier than I was, and one of them uh, had started an organization or a chapter of an organization where she was encouraging girls in conflict-affected communities to run. And she, was just in my network and friend community when I lived in Goma in Democratic Republic of Congo. And when I mentioned that I was thinking about getting into running, she was like, "Oh my goodness, let me run with you." And I think it was really thanks to her and our other friends that I managed to train for this first half marathon. We ran it all together, and that was it. The rest was history. It was great. It's great now in retrospect. That first race was terrible, and I came dead last, which in the running community there's an acronym for dead last that I will not say here, but it's it was quite the experience, and I had no idea what I was getting into. I had not trained fully, but it was a great experience for me to try something completely new, completely out of my comfort zone, something that I knew that was a challenge for me and a struggle and not something I was naturally gifted at. So that run was a real how can I say, meditation for me as well, because it gave me space to really think about many things as I was also about to turn 30. And I'll never forget, I had just crossed 15 kilometers, and this race was in Uganda, and I was ready to be done. I thought, there's no way, I cannot run any more. 15 kilometers, this is the most I'd ever run in my life. This is enough, it's good enough. And and my friend who'd gotten me into running, who had started this organization, I had her voice in my head saying, just don't stop, just continue. Even if you're crawling or you're walking, just continue. And so I did. I was almost crawling, I was walking. And when I looked up, there was my friend coming back for me. She had already finished the race and decided to come back, and she ran the rest of the way with me. And it was a really powerful and special moment. I have many tips actually, because I also think, like me, when people start running, they get really nervous about it and they think, I must immediately be excellent. I must immediately be Eliud Kipchoge or Sifan Hassan, and that's these people take years. They're Olympic athletes. No one runs like this, right? And I think what I love about running is you get what you put into it, and that's a lesson in and of itself. So what I would first tell a new runner is don't think you'll wake up tomorrow and running will be easy, that you can just wake up and run 10 kilometers. You work your way there. And this is completely okay. And I think it's part of the joy of running is that it's a process that you build, and that you, how do I want to say, you cultivate in yourself a running practice, and then you get better with time, whatever that might mean for you. Another tip I would give to new runners is the exercise you do that is not running is also as important as the running. One mistake I definitely made in my first weeks of running was thinking that to run, the only thing I needed to do was to run more. And inevitably, you run too much, too fast, and you hurt yourself. And that's no one wants that. It's the opposite of what you want. So I think just I would tell people make sure that you're also doing other things and don't think that, now you need to be running crazy distances to train by any means. I think start slow, be consistent, maintain also other sports, and you will see the changes that come in your running. And then maybe the last tip I would give is to enjoy yourself. When you run, I think because running has become so popular as well in the last few years, or maybe it's because I'm now in my 30s and everyone in their 30s is running on social media. I think people have really false expectations of, or high expectations of what they should be as a runner and what being a runner means and what running means and how they should look like, how they should feel when they run. And I think this is just too much. First and foremost, we should be having fun outside when you run. And something that I've had to learn over time is the beauty of the sport is that you're competing against yourself, and you want to beat how you ran in the last time you trained, or you want to strengthen this part of yourself, and you're not at all occupied with what other runners are doing or thinking, unless you are really a competitive professional runner, which most of us are not. And so maybe would encourage runners to maybe let go of this fear of thinking that you must be perfect at it, or that other runners are judging you, because it's not the case. Yeah, anything that you enjoy, because that's what you're most likely to continue doing. I personally love yoga. I also like to go to the gym, and I try to add strength training classes, because I've learned the hard way that if you are putting pressure on your legs when running, you need to put some strength in them as well. And yoga, I think, is also good because, you get a little bit stiff from the running. But I know many of my friends will also, for example, swim, or they do team sports. I have a few friends who've gotten into high rocks, which is this whole other thing. But yeah, I would say just do anything else that you enjoy and that you're likely to keep up alongside with your running practice. From my own experience, stretching and building strength is important, and often indeed, if you run, particularly if you're training and you're running long distances, you might begin to feel little niggles or pains, and the most important thing would be to not ignore them. And I think recognizing what is just normal stress on your body and what is pain, because you shouldn't be running through pain. No one should, really. And this is something I had to learn, was really distinguishing what was the feeling of my body having worked hard for something, or the feeling of my body being injured, which is something else. I am the team lead for the 8K team, and half of us are not runners, half of us have been running in the past or have been doing other sports. So I think as a team, we're trying to mostly just keep up a good running practice, having the colleagues who are now getting into running feel at ease, and just going to go and have fun. And then on the 16K team, I'm also participating the next day, and I think that team is runners who have been running for a while, and I know we each have a personal goal that we want to achieve in the race. For me, I would just be happy to finish. And well, let's see, maybe if I'll beat some personal time in the 16, that would be great. But other than that, I think our teams are looking forward to doing this as a team, seeing the other supporters come and running for this cause. When I'm training for a long distance race, definitely I'll follow a plan for running and also cross training. Now for our 8K team, we do have a little plan, and that plan is less about how many kilometers they should run, but really just making sure everyone is running at least twice or 3 times a week on top of another cross training activity, so that on the day we're each feeling fit enough to take on the 8 kilometers. Right now, my running practice essentially looks like 2 or 3 runs a week, and I really enjoy a long run on a Sunday, which I've maintained always, or as much as I can, because that gives me a great time for myself and for thinking and what have you. No, no, I don't. I think particularly if you're training for long distance running, food is a big reward because you get to eat, pounds and pounds of delicious things when you're done with a long run. And for me, honestly, I think the reward, even though that sounds cheesy, it is the run itself, and I feel really happy and pleased when I've managed to get a run in, or to complete a training week as planned, or to feel like I've been disciplined with myself. And it's not always easy to do so because of our work and the travel. So the fact that I'm able to reserve time for running does feel like that alone is a reward for myself. And I try to run a race, or in the last couple of years, my friend and I have tried to run a race every year. And I hope we'll be able to maintain that, because it's also, the races in and of itself are extremely fun, enjoyable, and you get to spend good times with your friends and family after having done this fun after sport that in the moment feels very difficult, but that's all part of the process, I think. Let me tackle it in 2 parts, because I think indeed the most challenging part of fundraising as an individual is getting over that hump of you don't want to ask people for money. I think key to getting over that hump is somehow not thinking about it like this, as in I'm asking them for money. In my experience with running and fundraising and and being in this sector, is that I think first off, most people are quite keen to give to causes that matter to them and that they're passionate about and that they see other people are passionate about. And I think key to fundraising is, yes, sharing about the cause, and also telling people why you are passionate about it, and getting people involved in that passion as well, moving them with that passion. And I think it's usually that moves someone to not just listen to you, but then eventually act in some way, maybe give, because they see your passion and your belief, and why that cause is so meaningful. Talking about the cause for me, now that I've also done this work for some years, I think I try to not not be too shy to bring it up, because it is happening around the world. Sexual violence and conflict, it's in front of our eyes every day. We talk about sexual violence, it becomes very, you see it on the television, it's everywhere, right? And so it's, I think it's interesting that it becomes difficult to talk about it, when it's a person wanting to raise the issue to friends or colleagues, or if it's about how can we better respond, or what can we do about this, and yet we're consuming violence in the media, and I don't think it's up to our individual fundraisers to address that societal kind of disparity between how violence is seen in the media and how willing people are to talk about it in their personal spaces. But I think it is, for anyone who wants to fundraise for the cause, important to bear in mind that, that sexual violence is everywhere, and that people, if they're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable to talk about this, of course you would not want to force them to do so, but it's not something that I think is hidden or unknown, or that we should feel shame to talk about, or feel strange to ask people to get involved in the cause somehow. I also think it's important for fundraisers to not, first-time fundraisers, to not attach, to not feel like personally hurt in some way if they've shared about their story and the passion, and people end up deciding not to want to give, because that can just be because of multiple reasons that they simply can't afford to at that moment. And then I think it's also important for the fundraiser, and then for the Mukwege Foundation, to offer people other opportunities to act as well, because other ways might also, there are other ways to also contribute to the work, and of course funds are useful because that makes the work happen, but yeah, I would not all is lost if a fundraising push, or if your fundraising conversation with someone doesn't pan out the way you think it would. Yeah, and maybe the last thing I would say, again, it's the same advice I would give to someone starting running, is to enjoy it, to be fun and be creative in your fundraising. And if you are able to get over that hump of not wanting to ask people, I think also talk about it a lot to people in your immediate circle, on your social media, everyone you might know, because you never know who the story of the work might touch, who your story might touch, and who might be interested in getting involved. Yeah, but yes, in some way, and I think that fatigue that we are all feeling right now is with also the reasons why we end up having persistent wars, non-stop conflict, continued violence. For me, that fatigue reads as frustration, and I think it's something we can all relate to, that survivors of sexual violence can definitely also relate to. And I would channel that if you're a fundraiser, or someone in the family or network of a fundraiser, is that the Mukwege Foundation run for Dam to Dam, talking about sexual violence, I would really think about it as not just, oh, yet again another depressing topic happening around the world, but really think about it as something radical, in a way that this run and any contribution made, any conversation we have about it, is breaking the silence. It is expressing that frustration with continued war, and people being silenced as a result of, or during that war, those wars, and hopefully giving people a space to channel that frustration and that fatigue into potential good.